Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thinking in the realms of sales and leadership and sometimes some other things. Today's show is going to be somewhat of one of those other things, although it applies in sales and in running a business. But what today's all about is getting the dream job you want with intent. And the reason I share this is I work with a lot of people that are working on getting jobs and stuff. And when I'm working with them, they tell me about how they're trying to get jobs. It's hard to find jobs and everything else. So lately, people have been telling me how hard it is to find a job. Then in meetings right after that with CEOs and stuff, they're telling me how hard it is to find people. So I've done shows in the past on selling with intent. And if you haven't watched those, I surely encourage you to go back and watch those shows on selling with intent. Because intent is not just about sales. It's living an intentional life. And when you learn to live an intentional life, your world changes. Things are not controlled by the outside influences near as much when you live an intentional life. But that's a whole nother show that we could go down on. So it's really today is about getting the job you want with intent. Because your understanding intent, it creates shortcuts to all successes in life. But in getting a job, it really works. I could do a 2-day show, all day long, 48-hour show, on just the stories of folks that I know that have deployed the strategy of intent and how it works for them and how they've gotten great jobs in the career and company they wanted to work for. So let's just begin with some of the underlying premises. One underlying premise is companies are literally hiring every day, even in recessions. And I'll tell you a recession story. So I was CEO of a company in the recession of '08, and we had a hiring freeze. So if you came in or you sent a resume, if you came in, our front desk would say, "You're welcome to fill out an application, but we're currently have a hiring freeze, no new hires." If you sent a resume in, our HR people would say, "Our company is currently in a hiring freeze. We're not accepting any new employees. We're in a recession, blah, 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 blah." The irony of that company is in the first year I was there under this hiring freeze, our company hired over 150 people. That's right, you heard it. We were not a large company either. We hired over 150 people. And if you were to sit there and go, "Oh, well, did your HR hunt for people?" Go, no. Everybody we hired that year came through a referral or through somebody we knew. We actually had one of our customers say, "Hey, my son's looking for a job." And I asked him about it, and I said, "Tell me about your son." He goes, "Well, he's lazy. He doesn't really work very hard, but if you could help him find a job." And I said, "Well, tell me about him." He said, "Well, he's a fishing guide. In our company, we were looking for some salespeople, although if he came in, we weren't looking for anybody." He told me he was a fishing guide and that he just couldn't make any money and blah, blah, blah. And the guy looked at me and said, "So you know where he might get a interview?" And I said, "Well, I'll hire him today." He goes, "But you haven't met him." I go, "Well, I'll hire him because I know if he's a fishing guide, he's getting up early in the morning. I know if he's a fishing guide, he's interacting with customers, even if he's just doing a few of them. And I know he has a passion." So long story short, I went and met this guy, hired him, sight unseen, through referral of somebody, his dad in this case, who was not even referring him. And we were in a hiring freeze. It was a recession. and we hired over 150 people. But in this case, this guy I hired before I met him. When I met him, turned out it was one of the best hires we ever made. And 2 years later, he was number 3 in the whole company in sales. So don't pay any attention to the noise. Understand getting a job with intention. So how does it work? You need to pick the company you want to work for. It could be because of the reputation. It could be because of people you know that work there, or any other reason. And by the way, don't get too stressed out that it's your company you're going to live and die with, that you'll be with for 55, 60 years. Probably not going to happen. But there's so much opportunity, and when you find a company you want to work for, your promotion opportunities, your success opportunities go up exponentially. So now, once you've picked the company you want to work for, it's not a matter of if you're going to work there, it's a matter of when you're going to get the job there. And again, we're not talking about a 10-year play here. We're talking about intent fairly rapidly. I've had people tell me, well, I need to get a job in the next 90 days. I go, well, then that's easy. We're going to do the intent process, and then we go through what I'm sharing today with you. So intent really plays out once you figure out where you want to work. Number one, don't worry about a resume. I have people angst over getting their resumes right. People really don't hire off a resume. And if they do, this approach in this show will have those folks being looked at after you've gotten the job. So if somebody's hiring through resumes, don't worry about that. That's noise. Let them get their resumes, do whatever they want. The bottom line is you'll have the job before they need to fill it with somebody off a resume if you do it with intent. Remember, with intent, it's about you, not a piece of paper. So to give you some stories to illustrate the whole process of getting the job with intent, I'm going to share a couple of just a few stories in this, and again, I could go for 2 days. Take notes if you're looking for a career change or want a new job, because this always works. The process has never failed. Operative word, never. So one of the premises is you always want to meet the CEO or one of the head decision makers. Do not go through HR under any circumstances, unless, of course, the HR director is a very close personal friend. And in that case, you're still going to do stuff with intent. So here's a couple stories, and I hope you enjoy them. One of them is about one of my ninjas, I call them ninjas because successful people. One of my folks wanted a job. This individual picked the company he wanted to work for. He finally got through to the CEO. It took a little bit, but he finally got through to the CEO. The CEO, when he got the call, he said, I'm so-and-so. I want to come introduce myself because you're the company I'm going to work for. And the CEO goes, well, I'm not so sure of that. Could you send me a resume? And he said to the CEO, absolutely not. And the CEO looked on the phone and says, well, why? Why wouldn't you send me a resume? He said, I'm not going to send you a resume. And he said, seriously, why wouldn't you send me if you're interested to go to work for here, you're going to need to send a resume. And he said to the CEO, I'm not sending a resume, and do you want to know why? The CEO was perplexed, I promise you. I can't even imagine how this dialogue went on. And he said, yeah, I want to know why. And the individual said, the reason is I want to have lunch with you and introduce myself to you because I am my resume. That's right, I am my resume. The CEO was taken aback by that and so shocked, he agreed to the lunch. One thing led to another, and that individual ended up getting a really well-paying job with the CEO after lunch, literally after lunch. Do you think he went through HR? Do you think the CEO called down to HR and said, can I hire this person? Do you think HR did anything other than take his information and maybe do a background or whatever? He got the job because he did it with intent. I had another guy and I'd been working with, or he actually been working with a lot of different people. One of his friends called me one day and can you help this guy? And I said, well, if he's your friend, I'll help him. So we had breakfast and he's telling me about how he's gone through HR and da 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 da. And he's got a real cybersecurity background. He wants to work for this big company in the Tampa Bay area. And he can't get past HR. He's sent his resume in, done all the stuff you're supposed to do. And long and short of it, he just can't get by it. So I got him business cards. And by the way, some of this stuff is part of the technique. You got to have business cards. So order yourself a box of 200 business cards off GotPrint. But at any rate, he had his business cards and note cards. And here's what he did. I sent him to the front, to this big company, to the front desk. And when he went in, he introduced himself to the guard. This one had a guard, and shook his hands and said, I'm here to meet so-and-so, the CEO. The guard looked at him kind of perplexed and said, do you have an appointment? He goes, no, I just want to introduce myself because this is the company I'm going to work for. Well, the guard looked at him like he was crazy, and he got the guard's full name, what you want to do. The guard called up, and he said, well, wait a minute, the CEO's administrative executive will come down. So this person came down and said, can I help you? And he said to her, I'm here to meet so-and-so. I want to introduce myself because this is the company I'm going to work for. And again, she was taken aback, and she goes, well, we don't work that way, but he can't see you today. And he goes, okay. So the next step was he got in the car, he wrote the guard and the administrative assistant, got both their first names, wrote them notes saying, thank you for letting me introduce myself because I'm excited about working with you and the rest of the people at the company. Wrote the CEO a note and said, thank you for letting me introduce myself to Susie and Mary or Bill, whatever, because this is a company I'm going to work for. I look forward to meeting you. And he said, because I'm really interested in working in cybersecurity. Now, this, you're not going to believe this. No resume, those two. 2 weeks later, the CIO of this big company called him and hired him. Called him and hired him. Not called him and interviewed him. Called him and hired him. True story. One of my other folks was looking for a job, and I was asked to help him. And so we had breakfast, and we had gotten him business cards. Key thing is get your business cards and note cards. He had gotten business cards, and he was sitting there, and I asked him, what company do you want to work for? He told me the perfect company you want to work for. I said, that's where you're going to work. And so he, we were sitting at breakfast. He goes, well, I'm going to work on it. I go, no, you're going to get in the car today. You're going to drive over there today. You're going to put your hand out to the person that you meet at the desk. You're going to shake their hands. You're going to tell them your name. You're going to give them a card. You're going to say, I'm so-and-so. I'm here to introduce myself to so-and-so because we knew the CEO's name. And because this is the company I'm going to work for. They'll ask you, why are you here? Well, I want to introduce myself because this is the company I'm going to work for. In 20 seconds, I want you to find something about this individual. He goes, okay. Then when the administrative assistant of the CEO comes down, I want you to find his or her first name, last name, and something about them. Again, shake their hand, give them your business card, and say, thank you for letting me introduce myself. I'm here to meet so-and-so because this is the company I'm going to work for. I know if you're listening right now, you have absolutely thinking I've lost my mind. I'm telling you, this always works. So now he hears that, and he goes, okay. And I go, you're going to go right now. He didn't have anything the rest of the day. And he goes, okay. And I said, go. So he gets in the car, he leaves. So about 30 minutes later, I text him and I said, you'll do really well. Good luck. At 3:30 in the afternoon, I got a text reply back from this individual. And the text reply said, starting on Monday. That's right, starting on Monday. He got a 6-figure job, met the CEO hired him on the spot, and he's starting on Monday. You can't make that stuff up. Again, I could go on forever and ever. If you want a job, do it with intent. Pick your company, get your note cards and business cards. Go. Don't worry about a resume. Go and meet these people face to face and know that they're hiring every day, even if they're telling you they're not. It's not a matter if they're going to hire, it's a matter of when. And when they see you're that personable and you're out there, they're going to hire you. So, one last thing. I had a guy that asked me, well, what happens if the CEO lives in another state or another city? I told him the same steps apply. I said, get on a plane and fly there. Well, this particular individual wanted to go to work for this company in Chicago. And I said, get on a plane and fly there. He goes, oh my God. I said, put it on a credit card. Who cares? What's $500 if you're going to get a six-figure job for the company you dream of working for? So he flew to Chicago, went into the reception, same nonsense I just shared. And 2 days later, the CEO called him off the number off his business card and said, you flew all the way to Chicago from Tampa, Florida to meet me for a job? And he said, yes, sir. You're the company I'm going to be working for. The CEO was so blown away, he hired him over the phone. Because what companies are looking for, they're looking for people that have intent. They're looking for people that are intentional about being successful. What do you think this says to anybody when you're doing this? Is that you have the intention of being successful, that you control your destiny, that you're not a crybaby excuse maker. You're working with intent. So the lesson today is if you want to get the best job possible, do it with intent. Again, thank you so much for tuning in each week. And remember to share if this helps you. My book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, is available on Amazon, and it totally talks about this kind of stuff. It's the self-talk that keeps you away from selling with intent, getting a job with intent, and candidly, which next week we're going to talk about, is hiring with intent, finding those key people that you've dreamt of, but now doing it with intent and having just put together a rock star team. And we're going to talk about that in next episode, hiring with intent. Right now, it's getting the dream job you want with intent. So remember, be intentional and go out and get that dream job you've always wanted. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.